Hello everyone. Today is Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. Today I will present the universal Dhamma of suffering to all of you. Whether you are children, elderly, disabled, women, men, of any religion, caste, or nationality, everyone can listen. Students can listen too. What I will show you to understand is something that we all already have. It is the origin that we must learn to know. No one has come to teach us. No one has come to point out or emphasize for us to know. When we don't know, we get stuck in the world of conditioned thoughts. This world is a conventional world that we all think and construct together. We conventionally call that thing a tamarind tree, even though it is nature as it is. It doesn't need a name. We call that thing a cat, a tiger, a millipede, a chicken. These are conventional languages given to those things. Things don't have names. Let's look broadly from left to right. Look at everything we see. Have they said what they are? But the voices we speak in our minds, the voices we utter, give meaning to everything. We say this is a window, this is a table, this is a cement wall, this is wood, these are dishes. We rely on sound, this conventional language. We rely on this to give value to everything. But everything doesn't need language. Now let's get to the point. Why do we need to rely on this sound to construct and give value to everything? Do you know that when we construct and give value to everything, without knowing that giving value to everything causes harm? We look like this. We look and give value that this is a good person. This is not a good person. I don't like this person. I like this person. This person is neutral. When we think and give value to one person and say we don't like them, we are thinking. We are speaking in our mind. Or we will speak with someone else. We speak in our mind that I don't like this person, so I don't like this person. Does emotion arise with it or not? Not only do we create conventional language, thinking in our mind, speaking in our mind that I don't like this person at all. Hate. As soon as we think, when we see their face, we look and instantly see. We think immediately, give value immediately, and we develop emotions of complete dislike, even hatred. Do you see the emotions of hatred, anger, dissatisfaction? We are the ones experiencing these emotions, right? And we give value to that thing that it's a person we hate. We don't like faces like this. We don't like personalities like this. We are thinking, right? We think and speak in our mind, and we have emotions too, right? Who is being troubled now? The point is, who is creating the trouble, creating stories? It's us, right? We create stories ourselves, and we suffer ourselves, right? Let's look again. They are just a form, just a thing, like when we look at a tree, like when we look at the sky, like when we look at a mountain. It's just an image, isn't it? All things don't say what they are. But the point is, we think and give value to that thing, and then experience emotional suffering with what we've given value to, or look and see something, and then, oh, like it so much. Oh, it's so good to see it like this. We develop emotions of satisfaction, happiness, from when we instantly look. And then we speak in our mind that, like it so much, oh, this is what we really like. We're speaking in our mind. Do we see this voice speaking in our mind? Do we see the emotions appearing in our mind? Whether it's dissatisfaction, oh, don't like it at all, hate it so much. Emotions of dissatisfaction arise. Voices appear in our mind, right? We'll think, oh, I like this so much like this. Emotions of dissatisfaction and satisfaction arise too. Whether we think positively, speaking in our mind, we'll speak in our mind positively, giving value to that thing. We'll speak in our mind negatively, giving value to that thing. Or we'll have emotions going towards satisfaction or dissatisfaction or neutral emotions. These things we turn inward. These things arise within our minds, right? We're going inside now. Have we ever observed who is speaking these voices in our mind? Do they have form or self? The voice speaking in our mind, why can the mind speak? It's not related to the brain. It's about the mind now. Understand this point. We speak in our mind, the voice speaking in our mind. Observe the voice speaking in our mind. It has no mouth. Our mind has no mouth. But why are there voices speaking in the mind? Try imagining an image. Close your eyes and think of one person, someone we hate or someone we like. Think of the image, this appearing image. There's no projector inside our mind. But why are there images appearing inside the mind? Emotions arise. Why can our mind create hot and cold emotions, heavy and light emotions that we call emotions of satisfaction and dissatisfaction? We see these emotions. Can we? It arises from our mind, and it's like this all the time from waking until sleep. There will be voices speaking in the mind constantly, images appearing in the mind too, and emotions always appearing along with them. And the point is, there is a quality of knowing that is aware of knowing this condition. There is one nature which is knowing this voice. Let's try speaking in our mind. Say anything in your mind. Try speaking in our mind without opening our mouth to speak. There is a voice speaking in our mind, right? Does that speaking voice have a tangible self? And who knows that voice? If we observe carefully, we will see the marvel of nature that we have never seen before. There are images appearing in the mind too. Who is seeing those images appearing in the mind? And who has emotions when we speak in our mind? When we imagine images in our mind and emotions appear too, satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Here, let's try thinking of someone we don't like. Let's try thinking of someone we like. Emotions of satisfaction and dissatisfaction will arise. Heavy and light emotions, hot and cold emotions. These conditions will always appear in the mind. Can these conditions be touched? Do they have form? And who knows these conditions? Here we try stepping back to observe. We will see nature that we have never known, never seen, never paid attention to. We have relied on this pure nature that we have never known for so very long. When we step back to learn this original nature, we will see that everyone in this world, every mind, has this nature completely. The point is, who is speaking in the mind? Who is imagining images in the mind? And who has emotions of satisfaction, dissatisfaction, or neutral emotions? These conditions, I call them conditions. The condition that ripples as the voice speaking in the mind. Try speaking in the mind. Observe the conditions appearing as images in the mind. The conditions appearing as heavy and light emotions, hot and cold emotions, emotions of satisfaction and dissatisfaction, neutral emotions too. Do these conditions have an owner? If we can see that these conditions cannot be touched, no one can own them, then we should prepare for tears to flow. See this. And who knows these conditions? Observe who knows these conditions. And does knowing the condition have form? Can it be touched? Does anyone know the condition? If we can see that this knowing condition has no owner, oh, then where is our true self? Let the mind answer itself. Let our mind speak up itself, answer itself. When we observe inside right here, this is called awakening. Bringing our mind, bringing our true nature element to awaken. When we bring our fundamental nature element to awaken and see these conditions. The condition of speaking in our mind. The condition of images appearing in our mind. The condition of emotions of satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Heavy and light, hot and cold. Emotions of two sides, or even neutral emotions. All these are conditions. Oh, who owns these conditions? Observe. Don't think further that it's us who own them. This voice speaking. Who speaks? There's a voice speaking in the mind saying it's us speaking. This voice, where is this voice? This voice speaking in the mind like this. Where is it? Who is speaking? Let's observe. This is the challenge we must realize. Whatever we learn in this world, no knowledge is greater than this knowledge. This knowledge will come to know inside. It knows itself now. What we understand to be us, like we understand this is our body. But when we learn carefully, we'll see that this body is not our body. Because this body doesn't last long, it's born to disintegrate. It keeps expanding bigger. And finally, it will start getting sick, aging continuously, deteriorating continuously, and finally it will collapse. This body doesn't last long, right? At first, we used to understand this was our body, right? But one day, we'll see this body is not our body. This kind of knowledge we come to know later, right? Why didn't we know from the start that nothing is us? Why did we have to wait for nature to tell us it's not ours? Understand? We turn to look. We used to understand. We were taught since childhood. Since right after birth, parents and teachers taught us to use this language. They taught us to use this language, taught us to think too, taught us to remember. They taught us to use this conventional language. That's why I tell you this is a conventional language. We conventionally call this Thai language and conventionally call this left hand. Don't know what other languages call it. Don't know what animals call this thing either. If animals see this hand, they might value the hand as id, and the right hand is called ood. Here some animals give value to this as id and ood. This is conventional language, right? Whatever we conventionally call this thing. We call this the left pinky finger, ring finger, middle finger, index finger, thumb. We give convention to this. But this thing doesn't need a name, right? We conventionally say this mass has this name and surname, name Penn, surname C. We conventionally have this name and surname. Now we've started believing. When we were born, parents taught us to have names and surnames. We started believing we had this name and surname. When we were newly born, did we know what our names were? We didn't know at all we had a name. But we were taught to use this language, taught to think, taught to remember. We then started thinking, started remembering, started clinging. Oh, this is us. Oh, we have this name, this surname. We must remember too. What's our house number? Oh, what's your mother's name? Father's name? We must remember everything. We were taught to think and remember, right? But has there ever been anyone, right after birth, teaching us that this body is not ours? That we are mind? We just temporarily inhabit this body? Has anyone taught us like this since childhood? And has anyone taught in more detail that this speaking voice is merely a condition of the mind? We are the mind. The mental images we think are merely conditions of the mind. What we think, all emotions are merely conditions of the mind. All of this is not us. This knowing, observing this, hearing sounds, seeing how it hears by itself. Don't need to intend to hear either. It hears by itself. It sees by itself. It smells by itself. It perceives everything by itself. Put food in your mouth and it perceives by itself. Cold weather knows by itself. Hot weather knows by itself. Anything it touches, and it knows itself completely. Can we observe that it knows by itself? Can we observe there's nothing that is us? Notice? If parents pointed this out to us like this, let us observe since childhood. We would learn a subject that no one has ever taught us in this world. Why doesn't this world teach this subject? Teach us to step back to see what our true nature really is. This knowledge is the mystery that all worldly beings, all of us, have never come to learn. But there are wise ones who are proficient in mind, who are many in this world, who go against the stream to learn the nature of our mind. I will explain this point. If we can understand and realize this, whoever realizes, it's our mind here, realizes one's own nature. When we were taught to go to school, they taught. Everyone in the world today teaches, points out for us to see how it is. Are you awake yet to see the truth of what we're talking about here? This is merely a condition, can't be touched either. What's spoken here can't be touched, right? It appears now, right? And it disappears now. Can it be touched? Does anyone own this voice? If we hold that this voice is us whenever, we will start getting troubled with this voice. Like I gave the example that when we look instantly, we give value. Oh, I don't like this person at all. We speak our mind. We don't like this person at all. This is the voice speaking in our mind. We're flowing with, clinging already. We're flowing and clinging with this voice already. It's normal for all of us. We flow and cling to this condition. The condition of the voice clings to it. Images arise in the mind too, and emotions arise too. Emotions of dissatisfaction arise. Don't like, hate completely. Heavy emotions, hot emotions. That is emotions of dissatisfaction. We embrace these emotions. We cling to these emotions. We cling to this voice. We cling to this mental image. Do you see our minds clinging to these conditions? And now who suffers? Who is troubled? It's our mind. We start getting troubled, start getting irritated, start having emotions of dissatisfaction already. We experience these emotions, suffer with these emotions. Now there's another way. We see one person, we start speaking in our mind that we like this person so much, like unsatisfied with this person, and we have an image in our mind. Have we ever observed this voice speaking in our mind, these images appearing in our mind? Why do we flow with it? Flow and cling to it. And now emotions of satisfaction and liking arise. Emotions of satisfaction arise and really like with inner joy. Do you see the emotions that are joyful in the mind? A moment ago, there were emotions of dissatisfaction, anger, hatred arising intensely. After a while, emotions of satisfaction arise. Satisfaction and joy within the mind. Look left and see this person. Dissatisfaction, dislike, speak in mind, and have emotions too. Then look right and see one person we like so much, satisfied and very joyful. Left dissatisfied, right satisfied. This is a metaphor. Do we see these conditions? If we see these conditions are merely conditions, no one owns these conditions. They are conditions that arise by themselves. When something impacts instantly, it will speak in the mind, give value immediately, and it will have emotions of satisfaction or dissatisfaction arise immediately. Have we ever observed this nature? Observe the conditions appearing inside the mind. Our mind has no sound system. Why can it have a speaking voice? It has no mouth either. Why can it speak? Why are there images appearing in the mind? It has no image projector. Why are there images appearing in the mind? And why can it create emotions? Our mind, while we observe, look, there's nothing in the mind. Let's observe inside the mind. There's only emptiness, just empty where there's nothing at all. Suddenly there are voices, images, emotions appearing. We stepped back to look inside. Whatever we know outside cannot make us free from suffering, free from this conventional world. But whenever we step back to know inside, we will see our original element. We will truly see that actually we are not this body. Our true nature resides in this body. Our true nature resides in this body. When this body dies, this body exhausts its lifespan. When it dies, our true nature, which still has no knowledge, has no wisdom, it will go find a new body, go be a fish, and get eaten by people. Go be a duck or chicken, and get eaten by people, get beaten and destroyed, not being aquatic animals, land animals, underground animals, aerial animals, being born as small animals too. Why does our mind have to keep finding new bodies? From the beginning era, when our mind was born until the present, we have changed our bodies countless times. Why does our mind have to be born in these realms endlessly? The point is, why have we never known these things since we were children? Why did no one teach this kind of thing in childhood? It's knowledge that challenges us greatly. This knowledge is our own knowledge. This knowledge we must learn from ourselves, observe ourselves, and understand by ourselves. That this voice I'm speaking, you observe. Try holding on to my voice. You hold on to my voice. You will know the condition of sound that impacts your mind. You will know that there is sound impacting your mind. And this sound is not sound. It's merely some condition that impacts. When the sound ends, it disappears, as words and sentences. While we observe inside, our mind will know that this knowing knows by itself. Do you see the condition of knowing? It perceives this sound. It perceives by itself. Then it disappears empty with nothing. When sound impacts again, it perceives itself. When the sound ends, it's empty with nothing, as words and sentences. Can you observe this? This sound is something that impacts our mind. It performs the function of rippling perception. Sound is a rippling condition impacting the mind. We ripple in perception. See how it performs its function by itself? Like the body, the heart beats by itself. Eyes perform their function. The liver performs its function. Lungs perform the functions of lungs. Everything performs its function. Like this world, trees perform the functions of trees. Leaves perform the function of leaves. Clouds perform the function of clouds. Air performs the function of air. Earth performs the function of earth. Water performs the function of water. Wind performs the function of wind. Everything is nature performing its function. This world rotates around itself by gravity. This world rotates around the sun by the power of the sun's gravity. Everything performs its function completely. Even here, the conditions of mind, they perform their function of perceiving by themselves. Sound performs the function of impact. Mental images are merely appearing conditions. Here sound appears inside the mind. Do we observe? Have we ever observed it speaking inside the mind constantly? Who is speaking in the mind? Who is imagining images in the mind? These emotions appear in the mind. Who are they? Why do they appear by themselves? And they disappear by themselves. We can't tell them either. Emotions. Oh, today may emotions be good all day. Can't tell them, right? Anger. Oh, you get angry right now. Be angry all day. Can we tell it? When there's a cause impacting, emotions will arise immediately. When we see something, and we think about giving value, imagine images. Think about giving value that we don't like. Emotions will follow immediately. It will arise simultaneously. When we see something we like, emotions of satisfaction will arise immediately. Images, sounds, emotions are conditions that will arise when there's impact. Seeing, hearing sounds, smelling, tasting. When we smell something, emotions and thoughts will arise that it stinks. Emotions of dissatisfaction will arise immediately. When smelling something fragrant, joyful emotions come. Light emotions, comfortable emotions come. When we put something in our mouth touching the tongue perceives instantly. The condition of perceiving taste, perceives instantly, and will think immediately, oh, so delicious. Emotions of satisfaction will arise. When it impacts us, we perceive it as not delicious at all. Soon it will speak in mind that it is not delicious. Don't like emotions of dissatisfaction arise immediately. These things are conditions of our mind. These conditions work naturally. Have we ever observed these natural conditions? This nature inside, it works by itself. This knowledge knows by itself. It hears sounds by itself. Here it perceives by itself. Don't need to know either. Do we see that this nature performs all its functions by itself? Oh, then where is the self? Don't see us involved with these natures at all. Then what are we? Try looking inside. If we keep stepping back, monks, I myself, try to bring us back inside. Keep going inside. We will come to a stop. Stop at one nature. This nature has no form at all. This nature has no form. It's empty, very pure and clear. This nature is the life element without form. This life element is empty. It's very clear and has no form. If we, metaphorically, we imagine along, we erase this body away. What remains is this nature with conditions. Let me call this nature mind with conditions. Conditions are actions, conditions of mind. Like clouds enveloping the world, atmospheric layers enveloping the world here, these are things enveloping the world. But it moves constantly. Atmospheric layers, air, all clouds will move, covering the world, protecting the world constantly. But the world is inside. Inside, these things cover the world. These conditions, voices speaking in the mind, images we think in the mind, emotions appearing in the mind, and the condition of knowing inside our mind too. All these conditions are things covering the pure, clear element of ours inside. Our true nature is a life element that's empty, clear, very pure. This element exists beyond all conditioning. It's the immortal element. It's an empty, clear element without form. It doesn't come or go either. It's not born, not extinguished. It's not born, not dead at all. This nature is called the immortal element. It's not dark, and it's not bright either. It's a very clear element. Whenever we step back to know this element, see that what's speaking is merely a condition. No one owns it. If we don't cling, don't hold. Don't cling to this voice. Let it perform its function. Let this voice perform its function. Let the imagined images perform their function. But we must see them, must see this voice appear by itself, disappear by itself. See the images in our mind. They appear by themselves, disappear by themselves. Observe carefully. We just observe. Observe that emotions are merely some conditions appearing by themselves, disappearing by themselves. Whether emotions of satisfaction, emotions of dissatisfaction, heavy or light side, hot or cold side, whatever kind of emotions, they are merely conditions, not us. Grasp this point well. Whoever understands will step back immediately. This pure element will not send out currents. Our mind's attachment is a very pure element. But now it attaches to and relies on these conditions as tools. It helps to rely on these conditions, to use them to condition everything for learning. But when we rely on these conditions, we become happy. We become suffering. We become troubled with these conditions. It's not easy. Each day, there's only heaviness and trouble from waking until sleep. Very troubled. Born to be an element of this body. Being an element means we must find food, struggle desperately. Some people cry tears all day to find food to feed their body mass. Why must we be born imprisoned in this body mass? We're imprisoned in this body mass, and we suffer with this body mass. We must struggle to find food for it, because without food, the body will experience great painful suffering. Why are we imprisoned? Finally, this body must die, right? This body doesn't last long, right? It has a lifespan, right? Some people die while still young. It's uncertain, too, when death will come. Completely uncertain, right? Let's understand it better. Don't wait for the body. Don't wait for nature to force us to understand. We understand it now. When we're newly born, we're taught everything. Everything is us completely. We try to maintain our selfhood, our belongings. Everything is us and ours. This house is ours. Car is ours. Money is ours. All possessions are ours. This body is ours. We understand this, right? Taught this way. Parents, relatives, everyone taught us to think, taught us to remember, taught us to believe that it's us and ours. We have our names and surnames too. This is our hand. This is our left hand, our right hand. This is our left leg, right leg. Everything is ours, right? But when we start getting older until aging, we'll see that everything starts not to be us. This house is not us, not ours. Finally, this house must collapse. Finally, I must lose this house, lose the car. The dog we used to love so much as our dog. Finally, this dog leaves us. It's not ours. The cat we love. Finally, this cat is no longer ours. The person we love, this person is not ours. Even this body. Finally, this body must age, must get sick. Can't tell it doesn't get sick, can we? Don't age, can we? It's not ours. It's born to disintegrate. We end up clinging to this nature. When this nature starts showing the truth, it teaches us constantly. It tells us the truth constantly, that nothing is us. We just come to rely on it, to know our mind. Like a metaphor, like our mind is longing for this knowledge. Our mind is us. We are the mind, the pure element. But this pure element is very pure, like a supremely innocent child. It wants to learn. So it created these conditions to use for learning. Created this voice. Try speaking your mind. Observe inside. Remember from now on. Let us observe inside. Observe inside the mind who this speaking voice is. Why can't it be controlled? Can't be touched. The point is, we observe inside this voice. Why does it appear? By itself. Disappear by itself. Speak by itself. Constantly. And can't be touched either. No one owns it. Observe this voice has no owner, right? See that it has no owner. And it has no form, no self either. This voice is merely a condition that ripples. Ripples in the empty clearness, and disappears in the empty clearness of our mind. We are the empty clear element. Having voice rippling, then dissolving. If we erase the body away, erase these conditions away, what remains is a mind which is empty, clear, and pure. But now the mind which is empty of clear, pure elements has created these conditions to use for learning about itself. Our mind is longing. This knowledge. It created these conditions and tried to find suitable bodies to inhabit, to evolve, to learn. The mind wants to know what it really is. We who are empty, clear elements want to learn who we are, what kind of nature we are. But when we create conditions, we instead learn only external things. We created this voice, but we flow and cling to this voice. Like we hired servants. The servants perform their own duties. We have the duty to hire servants. This one has a duty to go shopping and cook. This servant has a duty to look after the house and possessions. This one has a duty to speak for us. This one has a duty to think and create images. This one has a duty to express emotions. This one has a duty to perceive everything. We're not involved at all. We're not involved with them at all. They perform all their duties by themselves. And they're responsible for their duties too. The voice, speaking in our mind, this voice is an official speaker. It performs its speaking duty by itself. Observe carefully if we can tell the voice, speaking in our mind. The thoughts, speaking in our mind. O thoughts, O voice, speaking in this mind. You think and speak only good things. Try telling it. It just keeps thinking away. It speaks this and that constantly. Observe carefully from waking until sleep. It will speak constantly. Not us, not ours. It's one nature, a condition of mind. We truly are pure, clear, empty elements. We are this mind. This itself has no name to call it, but it's a pure element, a life element. I call this thing Let me call this thing mind. We are this mind. Let me say to understand first that we are this element. This element has no language at all. It's an empty, clear element of life. It's a life element that's the original element. It created everything. Let's say the whole universe resides in our mind completely, and our mind is everything in this universe too. Let's metaphorically imagine another way. In the universe we watch programs, let's try erasing the universe completely away. Erase all stars away completely. Erase the sun away completely. Erase black holes completely. Erase dust particles. Erase darkness and brightness. Erase everything in the universe away. When everything is completely erased clean, there's one thing that can't be erased, which is empty clearness. Only empty clearness will remain. Empty clear element, 𝙤𝙤. This is the original element. We are this element. When we erase this body away, erase this voice away, erase mental images we think away, erase all emotions away, erase the perceiving condition away too. Memory and recognition that we used to understand what we are, erase it away too. Only pure, empty, clear elements will remain. This is a life element. This is our true fundamental element. Let us observe to realize it. Enter to reach to understand it. The word speaking of understanding, the question is who understands? Observe further who understands. There's no one who understands. It's a condition too. Understanding is also a condition. Oh, then where is the self? That's it. That's it. Let the mind answer itself. If this pure element knows, this knowledge understands this knowledge that itself is this empty, clear, pure element. And there's no speaking language at this point. At this point, there remains no speaking language. This pure element, if it knows itself, is a pure, empty, clear element that has nothing at all in it, not even speaking language. Because this speaking language, this speaking voice, is merely a condition. Understand this point? What's speaking here is the conditions. We rely on these conditions. Rely on voice for communication. Rely on mental images for communication. Rely on emotions for communication. Rely on this knowing condition for communication. Rely on memory and recognition as conditions for communication. We rely on these conditions as tools. But when we see that these conditions are not us, they are conditions that appear, then dissolve, can't be touched, can't be controlled either. These conditions are known by themselves. The one performing the knowing function knows by itself. The knowing official knows by itself. The emotion official creates emotions by itself. Can't tell it, can't tell today all day to have good emotions all day. Bright and clear all day? Can't tell it. Sometimes emotions are satisfied, sometimes emotions are dissatisfied. Observe, and we'll see this real truth that nothing is us. These conditions, even when I'm speaking now, no one is speaking, and this is not voice. Can you see that this thing is not a voice? It's merely a rippling condition, rippling inside, and it works by itself. And this knowing has no one knowing. Here what's speaking has no one speaking, and this is not a voice. And this knowing has no one knowing either. It's merely rippling conditions. One ripple knowing, one ripple as voice, rippling knowing. All this has no us at all. Step back to observe the inside carefully. Then we will find the fundamental element that we never knew before, that we are this element. Meaning this pure element, our mind, is a very empty, clear, pure element. It is a life element. This life element is us. We are this element. We just wanted to know what we are, so we created tools to use these conditions temporarily. But when we create these conditions, we can't learn about ourselves. So we came to inhabit bodies across realms, called coarse bodies. Let's call them coarse bodies and subtle bodies. A coarse body is this physical body. The subtle body is the speaking voice, images we think, emotions appearing, perceiving condition. This is the subtle body. We rely on subtle bodies, we rely on coarse bodies, let's say it this way. When we came to rely on these coarse and subtle bodies, we got lost being troubled with nurturing this coarse body. Everyone, every mind, all minds, comes to rely on this coarse body with these conditions, which are subtle. These conditions give value and meaning. We have come to rely on conditions and rely on a body stuck just at this. When this body dies, we go find a new body. This body dies, we find a new body, until we find the most perfect body, which is human. We are the luckiest ones to get a human body. We are very lucky to meet someone who teaches and points out to step back, to awaken inside, observe inside. These conditions, this body is not us. This subject no one teaches. We were born. We were never taught since we were children. If we were born and everyone taught child, grandchild, student, this speaking voice is merely a condition. These imagined images are conditions, brighter inside from reviewing past experiences. Child, try thinking. Think of any image, child. That's merely a condition. It appears inside our mind. Child, this voice appears inside your mind too. Images we think appear in mind. Our mind has no mouth. How can it speak to a child? That's a natural child. Nature created this voice. Our mind, nature, created this voice, and it created a rippling condition, child. Created as this voice, rippled as images, rippled as emotions too, child. And it ripples the function of perceiving all conditions too. It perceives everything completely, perceives through eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body. It perceives through these windows. You observe the child. Observe carefully how it speaks by itself. It thinks, has emotions, knows by itself. If you see all this work by itself, where is the self-child? Let the mind answer itself. Let the mind answer by observing, then let the mind answer naturally. No need to focus, stare, sit thinking. No need to think. Just a duty to observe. Let nature think by itself, speak by itself, imagine by itself, have emotions by itself, know by itself. Just observe that when putting food in your mouth instantly, see how it knows by itself. When we walk around, we smell impacts. See how it smells by itself. Eyes are seen by themselves. Ears hear sounds by themselves. Do you notice? Where is our true self? Let the mind answer. If parents or teachers pointed out to see that we truly are empty, clear, pure elements, life elements, we are mind. The mind has no form. It doesn't speak. Here, it's an element that's the original element. The original elements, or our mind, is like empty clearness that merges with everything. Everything resides in this pure element. Do we see that before the Big Bang, before stars arose into the universe, there was an empty, clear element existing first? Then a point occurred, exploding into mass energy, until dust particles combined. Then combined, they formed into stars. Dust particles. If you ask, where do dust particles and all the stars come from? Let's say, where does the earth come from? Water, wind, fire, all material elements come from where? All energy comes from where? Let's try erasing all these things away completely. There will be only empty clearness as the first point. And these things were created later. This is what we should know, that we are this empty, clear element. Let's try looking back inside ourselves. Where does this voice arise from? Where do images arise from? Where do emotions arise from? This knowing, where does it arise from? It arises from our mind, from the original element. We are the original element as the primary element, a natural element that's very clear with life. We are this element. If we keep observing, understanding well, if we start realizing, oh, nothing is us, this knowledge will arise. Observe. Knowledge will arise by speaking by itself. and it will be realized by itself. Oh, I understand. Listen to my tapes a lot. Listen to many rounds. This tape is very good. Listen to many rounds and we will cry tears. And we will be free from all suffering too. We will not suffer anymore. And this will be our last birth. We will not be born again. We will become an immortal element, an element that knows everything. This element. But it clings to nothing at all. And it exists beyond all conditions completely. Very pure, very supreme. This element is very excellent. This element. Realize it, all of us. And we will see the greatest marvel beyond speaking language. We will become that pure element. Actually, we are that element already. But now, we rely on tools. This pure element has no form. It cannot understand anything if it doesn't create tools. Like we want to catch fish. We cannot catch fish if we have no tools. We must have arms as tools. We must have a net, must have sharp sticks as tools to catch fish like this. We must have tools to catch fish. But these tools we don't want. We want fish to eat. Similarly, pure elements, or our minds, are already very pure elements. Very clear. It cannot understand itself. We cannot understand ourselves. Understand? We are that clear element. So we must create these conditions, create this voice, create images, create emotions, create knowing conditions to perform the function of perceiving and understand ourselves. But when conditions are created, then they cannot be understood again. So I must rely on my body again. We've changed bodies and don't know how many times. Until now, we have got a human body and are lucky. There's someone who has realized this truth and points out for us to understand that we are mind. We are this original element, very empty, clear, and pure. It's one subject, one knowledge that's most challenging. And whoever sees this element of oneself whenever, we will be free from everything. We will know everything in the world universe. It's all in our mind completely. The whole universe is in our mind. We will know everything like this. Oh, I don't know what language to speak with humans, because this speaking language is just one tool for communication only. But that knowledge that can't be spoken, it's knowledge that encompasses the whole universe. Try proving it. I want us to prove it. From now on, since waking, let us be awake knowing inside. Observe inside. Just observe inside this speaking voice. Let's try not to rely on it. Let it speak for itself. And understand that this voice is not us. It's merely some condition. Can't control it. Can't tell it to think only good things. It won't happen. It thinks this and that, speaks this and that. Have we ever observed it speaking in mind? You don't understand. See the voice speaking? Huh. I don't understand. Or some say there's a voice speaking in mind that, oh, I understand now. The voice saying, oh, I understand now. Voice is not us either. Observe carefully the voice speaking further. Sometimes there's doubt. Doubts arising. Hey, if it's not us, then where is the self? See this speaking voice? If it was not us, then where is the self? This voice. See that this voice is not us. It's nature, thinking official, imagining official, emotional official, knowing condition official. All these are official conditions, tools of ours, tools of the mind working by themselves like this. When we see that they are merely officials, they are merely our servants, they are one nature performing their functions by themselves, know us, and acceptance occurs. Our pure element accepts this truth whenever, and clear knowledge arises. Like we're cleansed out from personhood. When it keeps understanding, it will become light. Notice, it will become light. The more listen to my Dhamma, the more listen to my universal tape. Listen often. Keep listening. Understand. 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 And it will become light open. Light living life light now. It won't foolishly suffer with anything, because suffering emotions of satisfaction and dissatisfaction, not our emotions. They're merely conditions. This voice is also conditioned. Voice, whoever comes, all impacts are conditions. Everything is known objects completely. Oh, everything is merely conditions. Voice is condition. Images are conditions. Emotions are conditions. This knowing is also a condition. Know us. Are you comfortable now? It becomes light open. Light opens continuously. Light opens until ultimate understanding. Keep understanding. Keep understanding until ultimate understanding. When ultimately understood, it will be like this. It's like today. It's very light. Light unusually. Light very comfortably. Today is very strange. The light is open. Not quite hungry for food at all. It was very uncomfortable. Just walk around casually, looking here and there. After a while, hear sound. Hear sound, child. Suppose mother calls, "Child, where are you?" when hearing a sound click. Or sometimes it's sound of gecko calling. A gecko is there. Well, we're walking cold, and gecko sounds are called tukai, or bird sounds called kawau kawau. Suddenly, while walking, we perceive something that, it hears by itself. It becomes brighter inside from reviewing past experiences. By itself? There will be one moment that's very natural where we don't intend to know, to understand, to see. We've understood a lot already. It's very light already. But there's a moment that's like a natural knowing, natural chill. That moment will be something very chill and comfortable. It's knowing that it hears sound by itself, and it will strike like we're yanked out from personhood. We're yanked out instantly. We become something unknown. There's no self. It's very clear and clean. We become empty, clean, and pure, that merges with everything. And it's knowledge that's very great. And it seems like we look and see that this body is not us. This look is not us either. It becomes something unknown that's very pure already. And we will cry. We will know we're not born. We will cry tears. We will know we're beyond the world. We're beyond everything. We are very pure. And there are no us. Let me say for now. But there's no us. Here no selfhood remains at all. Only purity remains. Very pure. Realize it. All of us. We are this pure element which has no us in it at all. Only purity. Pure. And we will cry tears. We will know we're free from suffering. We're free from everything. We won't be born again. We will know we won't be born again. This is our last birth. We will do everything for this world to be like us. This is the single most challenging knowledge. Realize this fundamental element of ours. Everyone. I encourage all to listen to this tape a lot. Everyone. Children, elderly, disabled, women, men can all realize this fundamental element. All genders, all ages, all religions, all castes, all nationalities. Listen to this tape a lot. Spread this tape a lot on YouTube channel. Facebook too. Name phone. Name free from suffering through knowing. Let's follow and share a lot. Tell everyone to come listen, and we will realize the fundamental elements we already have. We will be completely free from suffering. We will know the truth that everything is not us. It's a conventional world. Like we dream, we will wake up. We will see that everything is a world of dream illusions. What we used to understand as real turns out to be all dream illusions. And we will cry tears. We will be very amazed. We will be free from everything. And we will not be born again. Let me end here. May all of us realize this fundamental element of ourselves immediately. May all Buddhas be witnesses. From the second onwards, I will diligently listen to this Dhamma. Will be awake, knowing inside. Will see thoughts, emotions, and knowing conditions as nature, not us, not us. Will not cling to or hold on to any conditions. Will not be born again. This birth will be the last birth. When realizing Dhamma will teach descendants and acquaintances to be awake, knowing inside, not deluded, cling to thoughts and emotions until the last breath. As Buddhist worship, thank you for watching and engaging with these teachings on awakening. If you find them meaningful, we would deeply appreciate your support through subscribing, liking the video, or sharing your thoughtful comments below.